Story 1. In My Dreams. For about a year or so as a child of 9 or 10, I had a series of recurring dreams with the same person in them. This was no ordinary person. In each dream he would chase me, catch me, and try to do harm to me. It got so bad that I had trouble sleeping, until I hit upon a novel way to stop the dreams. At any point in the dream, when things got too hairy, I would will myself to repeat, "No! No! No! No!" over and over until I woke up. This was my first tentative steps towards lucid dreaming, I suppose. The last dream in the series went like this. Once again I found myself walking down a broken and cracked sidewalk. Large brick buildings rose up on either side of me. As I rounded the corner, I bumped into him. He was dressed in black, a three-piece suit, with a black hat on his head. His featureless face was ghost white, except for where his lips would have been. Drawn on with lipstick was an overly exaggerated pair of lips. He tipped his head down towards me, lifted his arms up to shoulder height. It was then I noticed he was holding an oversized black burlap bag. "I've got a present for you," he said, opening the empty bag and lunging towards me. I started to run back the way I came. The more I ran, however, the slower I went. I kept looking over my shoulder, seeing him walking at a faster clip and gaining on me. The last time I looked behind me, he was right there. He pulled the bag over my head, straight down, and covered me completely. Yanking it up and over, I was in the bag, and pulled the string open and closed above me. He then proceeded to start to drag me back the way he had came. It was then I knew my goose was cooked. I had no way out, except to start my chant, "No, no, no," until I woke. Fighting back tears, I began yelling, "No, no, no, no!" He stopped dragging the bag. It must be working, I thought. I continued my chanting. Then he opened the top of the bag, just slightly. His head, his evil lipstick grin, almost mocking me, tilted downward. Holding the bag with one hand, he reached up behind his head with the other. He began pulling at his neck. I kept chanting. In one fell swoop, he pulled his ghostly white head off like a mask. As his hat flew off and out of view, a bulbous, hairless, thickly wrinkled, dark gray head with big, round, black eyes was now looking down at me. "No! No! No!" I screamed. The creature's thin, lipless, gray mouth cracked open slightly. I woke up screaming. While that was the last in the series of dreams, it still sticks with me, because both the mask and the real look of the creature uncannily resembles persons or beings allegedly seen in real life by some people. I wonder if the dreams are subconsciously masking something else, or are representatives of a certain archetype that many have experienced throughout the ages. I just don't know, but I'm glad I don't see them in my dreams anymore. Story 2. Dreams, Mirrors, Reality. Let me start off by saying that I've never been a firm believer in the world of the supernatural. Of course, when I was a girl growing up, my friends and I would sit up late telling frightening stories, each of us trying our hardest to scare the others. I used to think that monsters and ghosts lurked around each and every corner, and I was always prepared for the worst. Naturally, as the years passed, I would dismiss all but gut feelings and scares as overactive imagination. I thought that palpable things were reality, and nothing ever really fazed me. That was until my family moved from my home that I'd always known to a small, yuppie town a few hours away. It was a gorgeous place. My mom and I used to drive there every weekend, searching for the perfect place that we would call home. Well, I wasn't with my mom when she found this house, and I wish I had been. I had to try to steer her away from it. While I was still in school, she and my stepdad ventured out into the deep forest with the realtor and found the dream home. I remember her coming home and telling me about it. It sounded great. And then I started having these dreams. I dreamt of my new room, and there was this old vanity in it. In my dream, I would look in the mirror, and I would see the reflection of a golden retriever in the glass. I would stare at the dog, and then, in every dream, I would see a man standing behind the glass in the mirror, staring back at me. That's all he would do, would stare, and his eyes would give me the creeps. I had the same dream over and over again. I had not yet seen the new house, and you can imagine my horror when the room I was to live in was the same room from my dream. Also, our new neighbors had 2 golden retrievers, Duke and Daisy. The window to my new room was at ground level, so the dog could easily look into my window. To make matters worse, my mom decided that my late great-grandmother's vanity should go into my room. I tried not to think too much about all of this. I tried my hardest to dismiss everything as just a nice coincidence. Weird, but nice all the same. Well, one night I was trying to fall asleep, and my imagination went wild. I thought I heard someone breathing right next to my ear. I just laid in my bed, concentrating on trying to fall asleep as quickly as possible. And then I heard footsteps on my carpet and something rustling, some shopping bags that were lying on my floor. I lost it at that point. I jumped out of bed and ran upstairs to my mom's room. I was in tears when I woke her. I told her that something was downstairs. I was so distraught that my mom actually got the small pistol that she keeps locked in her nightstand. She went downstairs and she searched everywhere, every room. Of course there was nothing, and no one. I was 16 years old, and I had not slept with my mom since I was a baby. I refused to go downstairs to my room. I ended up sleeping with my mom that night. I stayed in the guest room for the next couple months, going to my room only when absolutely necessary. Nothing really happened after that, until my friend stayed the night with me. She brought a Ouija board. Earlier that day, one of my friends had called me with a problem. Her boyfriend had been cheating on her. She had told only her mom about it. I never mentioned this to my friend who was coming over. She didn't even really know my other friend, because my other friend was a friend from my old neighborhood. We settled down to use the Ouija board, and my friend asked the spirit that we were talking to about what was upsetting me. And the board spelled out Aaron. That's the name of my other friend's boyfriend. I just stared at the board in disbelief, and then I asked the spirit some other questions. It said that it had not been the thing that was in my room that night, and I freaked out. But the board also said that it would protect me from the thing that had been in my room, so I invited it to. And that's when things really started happening in my house. My cat would freak out and stare at nothing. Finally, I got to the point where I had to ask my protector to leave. I just couldn't handle the thought of ghosts in my house. After it left, everything stopped. My cat stopped staring at nothing. I stopped hearing footsteps. I'm grown now. I have a bachelor's degree. I'm a legal specialist. Despite all of this, I still can't talk about what happened to me as a child without feeling my skin crawl. I don't really know if ghosts are real, but I hope I never experience that again. Story 3. Ghosts in Mississippi. When I was a teenager, I was visiting my grandmother one weekend. She lived way out in the country, so there wasn't a whole lot to do. I got bored and decided to go for a walk. The sun was setting, and I was about halfway down the road, passing this old abandoned barn, when I heard a soft voice. I looked over at the entrance and saw this woman. She was very pretty and motherly-like. She had beautiful black hair that seemed to blow in the wind, but there wasn't any wind. She motioned me with her finger to come and follow her. I don't know why, but I did. I walked slowly towards her. When I reached her, she held out her hand, as if wanting me to take it. I looked at the ground, and then grabbed her hand. I heard this old, evil-sounding laugh come from her. I looked up and saw that woman. The same woman that I had came to wasn't the same woman anymore. She had transformed into an old, gray-haired woman. Her eyes rolled back in her head. I screamed and tried to jerk my hand loose. It was a struggle, but after I did, I ran back to my grandmother's house as fast as I could. I could still hear that woman's laugh echoing through my head. My grandmother believed every word I told her. She said that same thing happened to my father when he was 16. Now when I go to visit, I never take walks. I asked her the history of the barn, and she told me that many, many years ago, it had been used for occult rituals. The leader was an old woman who was eventually killed by some other members. I guess she still haunts the place. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, please hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Bye.